I have come across many stories of learners who have been treating stop signs like yield signs and vice versa, particularly in housing estates that might not have the best road markings. So in this video, I'm going to focus on showing you how you can judge these situations in a better way. So when you're approaching a T-junction or crossroads or whatever, generally you're going to have two types of lines at the end. If you look over here, you see a broken white line here and a triangle, which means yield. So you can keep going if there's no traffic on the main road, but just be prepared and be careful. And then you have the solid line here, which is a stop line. So this is stop, where you stop fully regardless. And this is yield, where you may have an opportunity to keep going without fully stopping if it's safe. Now, as you're coming up to the T-junction or the crossroads, whatever it is so important that you make a note on the approach of any signs and markings that might be there, okay? So you've got the yield triangle here, you've got the divider in the middle there that you keep left of. The broken line here is yield, and Gael Schlee is Irish for yield. You really have to be concentrating on this in housing estates and possibly industrial estates as well, because over time the lines here and here can become faded and they can become worn down, and sometimes the markings in housing estates are not going to be as well maintained as they would be on busier roads. So on the way down, concentrate, keep your eyes peeled, watch out for a line here or the remnants of a line here that's going to help you judge the situation properly. And watching out for markings like this is a good habit to get into, not only for your yield line or your stop line here, but on another occasion, at another section of road, it could just as easily be a yellow box that's a little bit faded, or perhaps some hatched markings, or a cycle lane, or pedestrian crossings. All these are good to be aware of. Let's look at this junction here, for example. You can see that the line, the solid white line that is barely visible close to the curb. And even here, it's partially hidden by what looks like fresh tarmac that has been laid in recent years. Over time, the white line has faded and worn down. So if you are approaching this or any junction similar to it, you need to make a note of any markings or signs, if they're available, about 20 to 25 meters before you get there. This way, you'll have a better view and you'll be able to judge the situation better. As a learner driver, you need to know whether you are dealing with a stop or a yield line, so you can obey the rules of the road in this area at this junction. This is so important because I've heard many stories of learner drivers who have not stopped fully at a stop line or a stop sign, and therefore they have lost marks and ultimately failed the test because of it. So this is my view about 20 meters away. I can see a section of the solid white line that we looked at earlier. This means that it is a stop line. I know it's very hard to see, but I can make out that it is solid white line in this small area. So I can take from that then that it is a stop line. And I have to stop fully and not just roll through it in a slow first gear kind of a speed. Because if I hadn't have previewed it and I reached the line, then as you can see here, I would struggle to make out if it was a stop line or a yield line, because from my driver's position, my driver's point of view here, it's very difficult, if not impossible, to see whether it's a stop line or a yield line. And here's another stop line as well in a housing estate with no accompanying sign. Maybe there was a sign there once, but it's not there anymore. So about 20 meters before I would stop, I must make a note of the solid white line there, and I can see the word stop. So I know now in a couple of seconds time, if I'm coming up to this junction, that I have to stop fully at the end here. Full, complete stop. Now, whether I use the handbrake or not is a different story. I probably will because it's a bit of a hill, but you don't have to use the handbrake just because you stop. You'd use the handbrake if you're on a hill or if you're stopped over 4 or 5 seconds, say. And again, if I'm at the line, as you can see here, it is practically impossible to see then if it is a stop or a yield line, because the car, the inside of the car, the doors and all that stuff, and the dash is not allowing me any kind of a view to allow me to make out whether it's a stop or a yield line. And this is particularly true if you're in a narrow lane or if you're in a narrow junction. Paying close attention to what kind of junction I have about 20 to 30 meters before I stop will help prevent me from misjudging or misinterpreting the T-junction, crossroads or staggered crossroads. Thank you for watching, and thank you if you've been supporting me by PayPal or by Revolut. Links will be in the description. Much appreciated. If you enjoyed this, don't forget the old thumbs up, and I'll see you next time. All the best.